My name is Meg Alexander, and I am, as always, incredibly excited to host all of you. I cannot wait to introduce you to our speakers and really dive into today's conversation. But before we do that, I just want to go over a couple quick housekeeping items. This will be especially important if maybe this is your first Power to Fly event. And if that's the case, then hi, welcome. We're so happy to meet you today. Now, if you are one of our frequent flyers, the love is no less real, y'all. Just because you're not new here doesn't mean we love you any less. Thank you so much for joining us too. I absolutely love seeing all of our frequent flyers, familiar names and display names and avatars in the channel. So thank you all so much for joining us. Now, the big thing to know is that all of our virtual events, much like today, are about you. They're about our audience members and making sure that you all get the value that you came to get from today's event. Now, you can do that in a couple different ways. You can get this participation angle and really, make the most of today. So you can do that in a couple different ways. You can turn your cameras on if you'd like. You can share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely. But truly, y'all, there is no need to be insta-perfect, honestly. We don't care if you're coming to us from a corner office or your living room couch. You can be, in a three-piece suit or in your bathrobe. We don't care. We just want to meet you where you are. Now, if you don't want to participate with your camera, that's completely fine. It is not required. You can always chime in and add your voice to the conversation in the Zoom group chat. So if you would like to, I'll start to try and get the conversation started over there. If you want to participate, please feel free. Let us know where you're dialing in from. I'm always really eager to see how far our global audience spreads. So let us know where you're joining us from. I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. So you're welcome to share with us where you're joining and if you know whose land you're on. Now, while we are participating, you are always encouraged to add comments or questions into the chat thread. So if you want us to dive in deeper on a subject, if there's a terminology or an acronym that you'd like explained, let us know in that chat. And please feel free to share. Maybe your lived experience has been different than some of the stuff the rest of us have experienced. So we always love the chance to learn and network and grow and learn from each other in these chats. So as you are interacting with our fellow attendees as well as our speakers, just make sure that, as always, we are leading from a place of kindness and respect. Now, what you should really know about today's event is that it's being recorded. And this is a really great thing because it means that you get to relax, you get to kick back, enjoy the conversation, and not feel like you have to be constantly taking notes or worried that you missed a reference someone made. You don't have to stress about any of that. So since we're recording, we're also live streaming right now to YouTube and our website. Hi, y'all. And what's going to happen is in about 4 to 5 business days, Power to Fly is going to send everybody that registered for today's session an email with a link to where you can rewatch this recording when we post it on our website. Now, let's say that Chris or Ciera or Kaelyn tells us something today so mind-blowing, unbelievable, paradigm shifting. You can't wait 4 to 5 business days to share this with a friend or a coworker or a relative. You do not have to. You can always head over to our YouTube channel. I'll share links for all of this in the chat as we go, but you can head to our YouTube channel and you can find the recording posted there, usually by the end of the day, same day as the live stream. And there's a huge section of our recorded chats that are saved in that area as well. So it's a really great way to check out some of our archive on the YouTube channel, but truly the full value is in our website. That is where the full archive is. All of our recordings, all of our references, our resources, everything that we want to share with you all is all housed there. So whether you check it out on our website or on our YouTube channel, I do recommend that you take a look at some of these resources. They can be a huge help for you, whether you are in your job search journey or you are just making your way through your career. Really, really awesome resources available. Y'all coming in hard with this. Okay, so we've got Detroit, Michigan. We've got Ontario, Canada, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Awesome. I used to have family down there. The UK, San Francisco, Argentina, Gujarat, India, New York, New Jersey. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Y'all sharing Ojibwe nations. I'm loving to see all these land call outs. So thank you all so much for that. All right. Now, last thing I want to highlight is that we are only here for an hour. So if you have a question, make sure you ask it. Ask early, ask often. That is the way I'm going to make sure that you all leave with the value you came to get from today's event. So as we go, like I said, don't feel like you feel free to ask questions. Don't feel like there's anything holding you back. Now, I'm very excited to share and introduce our speakers to you. But before that, I just want to highlight that they are here on behalf of Insight Software with Power to Fly. Now, Insight Software is a new partner with us. Absolutely super excited to dive in with you more about them. But before we do, I do want to introduce you to our speakers. So first up, we have Kaelyn Schachter. Now, Kaelyn is the Vice President of Enterprise Sales in North America for Insight Software. Now, Kaelyn has over the career in technology that she's had, Kaelyn has been able to quickly advance by focusing on the success of not only herself, but her team and others around her. She has a tremendously successful track record building and scaling enterprise software sales teams. Kaelyn is passionate about the sales process and the strategies around an effective enterprise selling motion. Now, finding the right combination of data and the art of selling has been a key area of focus for her. Kaelyn, welcome to the stage. We're so happy to have you today. Is there anything else you think our audience should know about you?
You know what? And I am calling in from Atlanta, Georgia area, and outside of work career. I also have 5 kids, 3 dogs, and 3 cats. So life is always busy and ever changing and crazy, but I'm so happy to be here today. So thank you, Meg and Power to Fly, for welcoming Insight Software and myself.
Ever changing and crazy. That sounds like you've just got hours of free time at your disposal. I mean, like, you're working on like the cure for world hunger, probably. Yeah. And like, that weird noise your throat makes when it's all dry. That's something, obviously a pressing challenge you must be working on. So yeah, love this. All right. So joining Kaelyn, we are going to bring up her colleague, Chris Lassiter. Now, Chris has over 16 years of experience driving success in remarkable companies and organizations, focusing on visionary guidance for sales, customer service, and nonprofit teams. Now, as an enterprise account manager with Insight Software, Chris has trained and led impactful individuals united by a common goal of making a positive difference. Now, as a former VP and seasoned account manager, Chris has learned how to communicate across diverse industries, create and leverage their personal and professional networks, and meet people where they are. His mastery of sales strategy, research, preparation, white glove customer service, not an easy feat, as well as leadership and public speaking ignites success from every angle to help Chris drive unparalleled results. Chris, welcome to the stage. Is there anything else that our audience should know about you?
One, I'm really excited to be here, so thank you for having me. I am from Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where I'm joining everybody from. And outside of work, very active. Thankful to have a wonderful wife and a 5-month-old son, Carter, who is the reason why I get up in the morning. So really thankful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on your growing family. Obviously, you're probably not at all sleep deprived either. So this is going to be excellent. This is going to just be fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, rounding out the Insight Software trio today, we have Ciera Dotson. Now, Ciera is a channel partner manager, sales channel engineer. My bad. If I could read, I'd be really dangerous. Now, Ciera's deep passion for people has expanded into a love for sales training and a dedication to providing exceptional customer service. Now, with a keen understanding of the intricate dynamics of sales, Ciera continues to bridge her technical knowledge and commitment to continuous learning to deliver consistent results that help drive revenue growth, nurture client relationships, and leave a lasting impact on the industry. She has over 12 years of experience leading high-performance teams in a variety of vertical markets. And Ciera's expertise, enthusiasm, and effective execution of strategy have not only made her a trusted advisor amongst her peers, but a true leader. Ciera, we're so happy to have you with us today. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else our audience should know about you?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. First and foremost, I'm really excited to be here. I have a very diverse background, so if there's anyone who can speak to breaking into tech, it's definitely me. I went to a performing arts high school. I have a government degree, and now I'm getting an MBA and I'm working in tech. So you can transfer for sure.
Heck yes. Well, it just goes to show we are infinitely trainable, and the things that you think you're training for, that's not the limit, right? The limit on what you can do is where you decide to take that skill. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. All right, y'all. Now we're going to dive into questions, but I just want to remind you, we did get questions pre-submitted. So we do have, a lot of questions that you all wanted to know when you registered. But don't forget, you do have the full power to drive today's conversation. So as we're going, if you want to ask a question, if you want to dive in more on a subject, explain some terminology, whatever it is, ask early, ask often. I'll be monitoring the chat. If you have any questions that you want to ask, but you don't want to be called on, you want to stay anonymous, not a problem. Just DM your questions to me. You can find my name, Meg Alexander, in the drop-down menu on your Zoom chat. All right, so to kick us off here, Chris, I want to go to you for our first question. What do you think is the biggest hurdle jumping into technical sales if you're coming from product or service sales? And could you explain maybe what the different, like high level, like what the differences of what you're selling if people maybe aren't familiar with the concept?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I came from a product sale background. And I guess even before that, it was services or space. And so it started with WeWork, where I was selling physical space, which is it's a very interesting type of sale. You're able to kind of put your hands on it. You see what you're going to be getting from the space. Then moving into I was selling air purifiers with Aranci for a period of time. And it's very transactional. Hey, I would like an air purifier to clean my space, right? So that's something that it's physical. It's something that, you're going to get something in the mail, essentially. And then moving into tech, for me, one of the biggest hurdles was really understanding, I've heard you say a few times, Meg, the different vernacular, the different acronyms, trying to understand what these different things mean. And so for me, it was really getting an understanding of what these things mean, but then also what do they do, right? So the difference between a CRM and an ERP, and how does that data begin to flow? That for me was a really big piece. So trying to understand the way that the different technologies work with each other, and then how does that obviously impact the customer? How does that impact what they're trying to accomplish? How do we understand how this one piece here, and the different, like we at Insight Software, we are a financial services technology company. So we sell things that are going to the office of the CFO: financial reporting, operational reporting, budgeting and planning, and the list goes on, which is pretty exciting for us. But it's, hey, how does this ERP begin to impact the day-to-day? How does it impact both the CFO and the business analyst? How does it begin to impact everyone in between? And so being able to understand the way in which the technologies flow and work with each other was really, really important for me in order to understand, hey, how to get into technical sales and how to be successful in it.
Yeah, I mean, and I like how you broke it down, that it is really a different kind of selling, because it's not as transactional. It's not just a single thing. It's not a single interaction. So much of sales, when we talk about it, I was raised by a salesman. So even though I have not been a salesman since, my retail days, I know what this is like to live with. And it really is a certain type of personality, right? You have to be curious, you have to ask questions, you have to be able to talk, but you also have to be able to listen. So I think it's really interesting that, for all of the characteristics, hard and soft skills that make a good salesperson, it does change a lot depending on what it is you're selling. It's not a plug and play kind of thing. So I do think that's a very good thing to highlight first off, for sure. What do you think was the absolute biggest hurdle for you personally? Do you think it's the same as what most people will hit, or do you think that maybe yours was a little bit more niche just because of your background or what led you to this role?
Yeah, for me, I want to say the biggest hurdle was knowing that it was not going to be as transactional, right? So like the deal cycles are a little bit longer. They are more intricate. The different people that are going to be a part of it, and on the enterprise level, they typically have a few different hoops that you're going to have to jump through, and a few different stages that you're going to have to hit. And so, we talk a lot about, okay, like what's the go live date? And then how do we work backwards from there to then actually hit all of these points to get a signature by the date that we want to get a signature by, or whatever the customer and I have mutually agreed upon, right? So for me, it was not, hey, here's a product, here's the price, and here's when you're going to get it. It's more of a in order to get this implemented, we know that you're going to have to check with IT, you're going to have to check with procurement, you're going to have to check with legal, you're going to have to check with the end user, you're going to have to check with the CFO. There are a number of people that are involved in the sale. And it does span some time, right? So I want to say we have some deals that are within the month, right? That the deal comes up and we close it in the month, but then there are times where it is a few months and there are a few different steps and there are multiple meetings and there are a lot of fun phone calls and there's a lot of back and forth. So for me, one of the biggest hurdles was understanding that it's not transactional. You do have to be strategic and you have to be ready to play a little bit of the long game.
Yeah. I mean, it's that context, right? It's getting people to understand, like, what that life cycle is just so wild to talk about, especially when you could have a life cycle of a sale that takes like a couple hours or something that take like years for them to come to fruition. So I think that is, that's a huge kind of paradigm shift for somebody to try and get their head around. All right. My next question, I want to go to Kaelyn for this one. Kaelyn, how technical do you need to be in order to work in technical sales?
Yeah, that's a great question, Meg. And the in summary depends. It depends on what role you're going to. So a lot of this is, if you're looking to go into tech sales for the first time, is a lot of research and a lot of knowledge on what companies are you going after to potentially work at and why do you want to work there. We have all different kinds of tech in this world. And in some positions, the salespeople really need to fully understand the technical aspects of that product to be successful. There are other areas where we're in tech sales and maybe that company provides solution engineers and they can handle a ton of the technical aspects where you as a sales representative really control the sales process in the buyer's buying process, which is very important. So you're controlling the relationship. And to what Chris was saying earlier, what is it that you need to help solve your problems in listening to understand? But the technical aspect can come from help within the organization. Here at Insight Software, we are set up in a way that you do not necessarily need technical experience to be successful in our sales. There are a team of people. You would have a team of peers, a team of people that would help you. And we do also provide sales engineers, product managers, anyone inside the organization is willing to hop in and help. What your main role is to control that relationship and ensure that the customers or prospects, we're listening to them, we're understanding their challenges, and we're moving them forward in their buying process, which would match our sales process, so that we can be successful and have a great relationship. So it really does depend. And the key there is do a lot of homework and do a lot of research about the company that you're looking to apply for or the role that you really want. Some, yes, you will need some technical experience. Others, not so much.
Good call out. All right. Thank you, Kaelyn. All right, Ciera, I want to go to you next. So as a current individual contributor with future career aspirations of leading a team, where should someone focus now to help them grow their career in that direction while they're still achieving their current individual contributor goals? So this is huge, right? If you are still in that IC track, you don't want to lose track, like you don't want to lose your focus on what it is you're currently doing, but you do want to show that you want to be in leadership or you want to step out of this role someday. What do you think is a good balance to strike there, or how have you done this?
First and foremost, that is an amazing question. Amazing. That's a great question. And my answer is going to be pretty straightforward. Focus on building your skill set because any great leader, their main goal is to create more leaders, right? So your skill set is going to be the determining factor of how far you move along, especially because I truly believe leaders sit in all seats. Just because you're not the head of the department doesn't mean that you're not a leader. And those are the types of things that are going to put you on someone's radar, say, oh my gosh, this person commands a room. They go out of their way to make sure that they truly understand the information that they're sharing to their customers. Their integrity is intact. Their work ethic is impeccable. Those are the type of things that you want to make sure that you're always honing in on. And everything else is going to fall into line, but make sure that you have the skills that you need so that you are your best. So one, you can help everyone around you be, great too. I always say, if I'm the best person in the room, I've never really disservice. But also focus on building your skill set, because when you are in a position of leadership, you're going to need to be able to give information to different individuals because everyone doesn't learn the same. You're going to have to deal with tough conversations. You're going to have to keep teams motivated in low time. So all of those things come from building a skill set. And that's what's most important. Everything else, as long as you're focusing on doing your best and making sure that that aligns with the goals of you and your company, you will be in leadership.
I like that. I think that's a really good call out, is that the goal of leaders should be to make more leaders. And I don't think that that's talked about enough. I don't think necessarily that that's called out enough. But you're right. It should be, if you are managing people, you want them to move beyond you. You want them to keep going and then go off and do something else. So I do think it's really important to think about those, think in those terms of, am I developing myself into the kind of person that is going to help other people to then move beyond myself.
100%.
If somebody's within tech sales and they want to grow a thriving career there, do you think that there are any soft skills in particular that are really key to this?
Oh, yes. So there is one of my favorite books that helped me so much in sales, was written by Chris Voss. And it's called Never Split the Difference. And if you don't know who Chris Voss is, he's like the #1 negotiator for, I believe it was the FBI or the CIA, but he's amazing. And what Never Split the Difference means is that you cannot compromise on your ethics and on your work in regards to getting across the line, right? Everything has to be in order. One thing that he mentions in his book is called naming the emotion, labeling the emotion. So a big part of that is listening, right? If I am meeting a prospect and I'm trying to get to know them and what their goals are, I have to really listen. I can't already know what I want to say to them. I can't already know what I'm going to pitch. You haven't earned that right to talk to them about product or price, right? Until you really have done the research to figure out what their needs are. But labeling the emotion helps you disarm your customer, because no one wants to be sold to, right? And when you're speaking to someone in sales, there's already kind of that thing in your chest that says, oh gosh, here we go. What are they going to say to me? They're going to try to sell me something. They're not going to listen. So when you ask the right discovery questions to give them an opportunity to open up, you want to make sure that you make an insightful response after they tell you something. It sounds like you're frustrated because your current process is not efficient and it's causing you to miss your deadlines. Oh my, they're listening to me. Yes, that's what happened. And then you gain that respect, and then you earn the right to speak to them and say, hey, you know what, based off of what I've learned from you, this is what I recommend. And you become that trusted advisor. So that's super important, gaining their trust. And the way that you do that is by listening fully and completely and labeling that emotion. It works every time.
Love this. All right. This is fabulous. I didn't grab a link to where you can buy it. Apologies, y'all. Bezos has enough money, but I did grab a link to where you can check out a review of it. It's from Medium, so that way you can check it out. It's also a quick bullet summary. So if, like me, you want to read the book, you're just going to, digest it in bites. This is, maybe something to get you started here. But I love all of this, because you're right. You do all this research, like we talked about. You want to, make sure that you're up to speed, and you do all this research on companies that you're prospecting, and then it feels weird, right? Because you're like, okay, tell me some things. And we're like, I already know the answer to this because I researched the crap out of this. But you're right. It's that listening, and it's not just listening, it's making people feel heard. If they don't feel heard, it's not, then what's the point, right? That you have to communicate that to them. And I absolutely love the call out of like, here's how you break this down so that they know that you're listening and that is being communicated properly. I'm loving all of this. Thank you, Ciera. Okay, Chris, we're going to go back to you next. Let's talk a little bit about goal setting. Do you have any advice for doing this effectively? If we are trying to balance the idea of our own personal goals as well as with businesses, like overarching goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, the first thing that I think about is do you have a year number? Do you have a quarterly number? Do you have a monthly number? Like, what exactly are you trying to work towards? And so thankful that at Insight Software, they've actually done a little bit of this for us, right? So they have hey, here is your yearly quota. Here's your number. This is what you're trying to get to. But then they've also broken it down to both quarter and month. And so without those pieces, that's exactly how I would try to get towards my goal, right? Understanding the different ebbs and flows through the market. Hey, like, this is typically the time where I'm going to be able to sell more. Here's a little bit of a slow period because of vacations and just the world around us, whatever that may be. So I might not be able to get as much here, but I try to break it up into what is it that I need to do today to help me get towards my month number, and how is this going to help me get towards my quarterly number, and then how is this going to help me get towards my year number. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. Smart goals, right? And so for me, I say, like, I want to break it down. I want to get towards the bigger goal, but I want to be consistently smart. And yes, I do also mean the acronym, so specific, measurable, attainable, relative, and timely. So if I'm able to be smart about my goals and to break it down in that way, I feel like, man, this isn't a marathon. It's one step at a time. I'm able to seriously just do what I can do right now, continue to do those things, consistently set myself up for success so that I can hit my month number, which will then help me hit my quarterly number, which would then help me hit my yearly number. And I love sports. Specifically in football, you have so many different people that are on the field. And I think about that when it comes to our company, right? Like, if I can just do my job, right? If I'm able to do my job, then I'm able to help the team that I'm on, and then I'm able to help the company as a whole get to our big overarching number, right? So I can't do it all by myself. I cannot score every single touchdown without a quarterback and without linemen. I just can't, right? So for me, I need to do my job, need to focus on my job. And now, love being on a team, because then I do get to also support and lift up and celebrate my team members when they are also doing their jobs, right? Like, hey, you crushed that. You did a great job. You hit that number. That's amazing. One that also just jacks me up, and I want to do that as well. But then, we also recognize that, you can't make a touchdown every single play. However, you can definitely pick up your team members whenever it is that you need. Someone falls short. Like, I love that opportunity to be able to say, like, hey, it's okay. Is there something that you can learn from it? Is there something that you can do differently or better to then be able to help the team get to that goal, right? What can you learn from this? I love what Dottie said, like, you can be a leader no matter where you are, regardless of whether or not you're leading a team. But again, in goal setting, big fan of, like, take the big goal and break it down, be smart about it, and do what you can where you can. As far as, like, physical tools, I'm a big notebook person. So I actually have, like, the Remarkable pad. Not sponsored. Like, I do not have an affiliate link, but I definitely would recommend it, where you can have those goals. Like, writing it down makes me, that attaches me to it, right? I can see it. It's something I see every single day. I know what I need to do, and then I just got to go out and do it. And if I'm consistently doing the small things, then I'm able to get towards the big goal.
No, I very much like that. Ciera's also in the background screaming, write everything down. And yes, as somebody who, I remember being in college classes and being told we could not have a laptop, even if you were, like, fancy and you had one, because you weren't going to pay attention. So, like, writing things down is my jam. Like, that's how this all, flows real well for me. So I love this advice. Have there been any options or any, like, tools that you've tried that haven't worked as well for you?
That's a good question. I think, and it's funny that you said computers or a laptop. So I like Remarkable because it does not have internet access. Like, it doesn't have browsers and things like that. I used to use an iPad, and it just was like, I somehow found myself on TikTok. I somehow found myself on Instagram or on Amazon, like, seriously just giving all my money to Bezos. But, like, legitimately, I was not successful doing, like, using my Apple products. It was like, I need something that is a digital pad that is just a digital pad. I've seen and heard some different apps and things like that, and they definitely have their purpose. That was not successful for me, because, again, I would close the app and then go to something else, right? So between my Remarkable Pad and between time blocking on my calendar, those are two things that have been really successful for me. Apps and a little too much access was not successful for me.
Oh, my ADHD heart goes out to you, because absolutely, like, close the app. What was I doing again? Something completely unrelated. So yes, I very much appreciate this. And I love the stress on, if this won't work for you and it works for other people, that's fine. It can work for them. It doesn't have to work for you. Whatever you find and whatever works for you is what it is. It's not that, just because it's not on the latest Business Insider list does not mean it's not okay. So loving this advice here. And if y'all have other options or other ways that you track your own goals, goal tracking tools for yourself, let us know in the chat here. I'd love to find out what people utilize, what has maybe not worked for you. Please feel free to share in the chat with us, y'all. Okay, Kaelyn, I want to go to you next. As we're going through our careers, it's something that people talk about a lot, is that self-advocacy is key, right? Because no one's going to care as much about your career as you do. So when we're trying to really advocate for ourselves well, are there any go-to strategies that you utilize, or any particular advice on how to do this successfully?
Yeah, absolutely. It is always a major point in everyone to, where do I want to go? I think stepping back, looking through career progression is, starting from the beginning, as we talked about, do you need to be technical in tech sales? Well, no, but once you get into tech sales, you really need to own that. And you need to and have the willingness to fully understand the job and the role and become the domain expertise in your area before you can start advocating for another position, career growth, right? You have to go and master your craft to where you are today. But once you do that, or on your way to do that, my biggest piece of advice is have the meeting. I tell people that all the time. And what I mean by that is, tell people what you are trying to accomplish in your career. Don't do it on your own. Your leaders should know what your aspirations are. Other people in the organization should understand. But by doing that, you also ask, what is important to you for somebody in this role? And make sure it's not a one-way street, right? How can I be better at my job today? And if I want to move up or have career growth in this way, and by the way, moving up isn't always into leadership. It could be moving from a commercial account executive to an enterprise account executive to a global strategic account executive. It's okay to be an individual contributor for your entire career. And you just continue to move up, maybe doing bigger and better sales, maybe doing the same thing, but your quota goes up every year because you keep getting better and you're doing more and you're making more money that way. So fully understand what you want to do and why you want to do it. And then let people know. Let them know your career aspirations and ask them for help. There are so many people out there that are willing to help. This is one of the biggest things we have in Insight Software, a mentorship program. And that is huge, but you don't need to have a program to do that. You can ask, who would be a great mentor for me? I mentor people outside of the program, not even in Insight Software. And it's important to see that growth in what they want to do and align. The other piece of it is, if you want to grow within your organization or even outside, really understand the objectives and how do you get there. So Chris just talked about having goals. So how do you relate your goals to where you want to get within that organization? Because it's going to tie in. If you tie into the overall organizational goals and you help be a leader, as Dottie mentioned, even on your current team, that right there is putting you in the best position possible to move into that next role, whatever it may be. But really important to understand that leadership, like moving into a sales director or a VP, is not the path for everyone, and that's okay. There's another path as an individual contributor, and you can still be a leader, as Dottie mentioned, on that team. You just might not manage, the day-to-day of that team.
Yeah, you've hit some huge nails on the head there. Define for yourself what advancement or what moving up looks like for you, right? It's not just a ladder. We're not just going on, a simple linear pathway and there's only up and down. That's not how that works anymore. Thank God. But like, if we really think about it and you're not limiting yourself to that, then yeah, it's a lot easier to try and figure out what you want to do because the options multiply. But then I also think you're right, having that ability to identify where you want to go, and then it has to be shared, right? I mean, we talk constantly about how sales communication is key when it comes to sales, but it's key when it comes to your career, whether you're in sales or not. People can't help you to figure out how to get you where you're going if they have no idea that you're even on a journey. They just think you're just hanging out, snacking on Cheetos, and just loving life in the sales team. And that's fine. And don't get me wrong, y'all, like where I am, this is my happy place. This is where I want to be. There's nothing wrong with being like, yep, this is what I like. But if that's not where you are, then where you want to go does not have to look like the next step in a chain. You know what I mean? I hope this is making sense and I'm not just screaming into the void at y'all. So apologies if I'm belaboring the point here.
Meg, can I chime in on what?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Phenomenal point, right? You have to define what moving up means to you, but also be vocal about what you want, because there have been many times where I'm like, I want to be VP of sales, right? And then you talk to VP of sales, you realize, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Or, hey, what I really want is to be able to lead a team. I want to be able to take on more responsibility. I want to be able to learn these skills. Someone in your organization say, oh, you know what, actually, this is actually the role that's a great fit for you, because that aligns more with what your skill set is going to be and what you're going to be able to contribute and help you get closer to your goals. So be vocal about what you want, because there's more than one way to get there, and everybody can help you. Everybody can help you. So especially at Insight Software, there's not one person that you're going to talk to. It's like, what do you want to do? Okay, write that down. And the next time they talk to you, hey, I remember you told me about this, and this is what I want you to do. I mean, these people are amazing. So 100% open up your mouth, say what you want. And also, like Chris had mentioned earlier, so that you can take a personal commitment to say, hey, I wrote this thing down. That means that I'm putting it into fruition. I've spoken into existence, and now I'm going to do the work. Like I made that commitment. So 100%. Great points, guys.
Yeah, like you make yourself accountable to other people. And even if they're not actually like checking up on you, it's still, you've put it out there, right? It's not just in your head anymore and nobody has any idea that this is what you're planning. So I love that. I love that. Kaelyn, before we leave this topic though, when it comes to self-advocacy, do you have any tips for doing this in a remote setting? Because it can feel weird enough trying to like figure out how to have that sit down with your boss at the perfect meeting time, and when he's got his coffee, but it's before 12, and what all the kind of stuff that we put into it. But this can be even more weird feeling if you are physically removed from everyone. What do you think that self-advocacy should look like in a remote environment?
Yeah, and I understand it might feel a little weird, but the conversations are really still the same, right? And that's why I talked about, if you are the domain expert now at your role and you're out there crushing it and you're already leading your team, or you're helping others around you, as we all talked about, right? We're not just a single individual contributor, we are helping everyone around us. Then that conversation is very easy, or should be very easy for you to have with your boss, with your boss's boss, because you're already doing all of the right things. And that's when we have to go back and look at ourselves like, am I doing everything I need to do to be one of the top performers? And by the way, it doesn't always have to be the top performers, but am I hitting my goals that we set out? Am I doing all of the right things? Am I aligned with the core values of our organization and doing the right things? Then yes, then that's why I said, have the meeting, throw the meeting on the calendar. Don't be nervous. Even if you are, just do it anyways. And you will be so happy you did, because the response is never no. It's okay. I understand what your aspirations are. They might get asked about a timeline. It's really hard to put a timeline in place for those kinds of things, because you don't know when a role will open up. And be honest, if a role opened up in the next 3 months, yeah, I would put my name in for it. If it was a year, I would still be happy in my current position for another year. I'm just telling you, this is where I want to go. And I would like your help or advice on who to go to help to make sure that when that role does open up, I am the front runner for that position. And it's very important to also know that even if you do go for a position in your company and you don't get it, it doesn't mean not ever. Sometimes it just means not now. There might be somebody who's been doing this self-advocacy longer than you, and they were in line for that, right? So it is very important. My very first promotion from an individual to a sales leader, I got turned down 3 times by the same person, by the way. And I now actually work for him. So it was a very good, because it wasn't a no, not ever. It was, here's what I need to see more from you. And here's what we need to do in order to get you to that next role. So that is very important. I can't stress enough that sometimes there is this magical like feeling that people are like, oh, hit my number, I need to do the next thing. Hit my number, I need to do the next thing. It's not always like that. And it's important to understand what are the other things you need to do to prepare yourself for that next role. Because the last thing a leader ever wants to do is put you in a position too early and have you fail and leave the organization. If you're a top performer in what you're doing, or one of the top performers doing all the right things, we don't want to place you in the wrong spot and have you fail. And that's not the best feeling. So it might not be it's not a no, never. It's no, not now. And here's what else we need to see.
No, I mean, that makes a ton of sense. And it really, when you are thinking in terms of how do I get where I'm going, you really do need to, oh my gosh, y'all, my sentence just went completely out of my head. Apologies. It's been a really great day so far. No, I can't strongly enough emphasize everything that you're saying, because it really does, it does matter how you approach this and who you tell what you want to have happen. But it's like Ciera chimed in the chat thread here, do it scared. Like that's how courage works, right? You do the thing scared and you get the courage after, and it sucks. It's kind of stupid. I wish it worked the other way, but that's how it works. So I do think it is really important to know that if you think you're not ready, you should communicate that. You should try and have that open conversation. But just because you think you're not ready doesn't necessarily mean you aren't. It is something that if you aren't fully confident in, oh yeah, I can go off and do that job, it's not much of a challenge then, is it? You're not really learning anything. You're not improving. It's something you already know. And for me, that to me, that's like a beeline to boring. And then I'm just not engaged anymore. So, if that's something that also motivates you, maybe helpful hints here. All right, Ciera, you're up next. Let's talk about mentorship. Do you think that this has played a role in your career development? And if yes, what do you think it's been?
100%. Mentorship is so important. I am very happy to say that I'm a mentor to 3 different individuals, and it means a lot to me. But especially because, like I said, there are so many things that we think that we want, and it takes the expertise of somebody who's either achieved what you want or is successful in the area to be able to set some realistic expectations with you about what you're currently doing, how you can improve, and kind of patch you in, right? A long time ago, someone told me I was a bartender the whole way through college, and it was like the best thing ever because I met more people bartending that have advanced my career than at any conference I've ever been to, right? So one thing that someone told me a long time ago was like, do you like to read? What do you want to do? Who do you know that's done that? They wrote a book, read it. Mentorship is so important. A lot of times people can save you a lot of stress from doing things that are not going to help you to exceed or that are just not aligning with your goal. And it's just important for someone to be able to center you back down. I'm crazy and I just get so fixated on things. And if I decide that I want something, I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Google, anything I can think of, like, okay, how do I get this done? And my mentor tells me, breathe, slow down. Right. And like Chris mentioned, this is a great goal and it's a big goal. Let's be a little bit more realistic. Let's break this down. Right. Like this is, like Kaelyn mentioned, this is what we need from you now. These are the things that someone who is going to need from you now, who's going to evaluate whether or not you're going to be ready for that. And this is how you accomplish it. And that's totally okay. It is important, however, to make sure that anybody that you seek mentorship from genuinely enjoys helping people. Genuinely, you want them to be somebody who this is something that's as beneficial to them as it is to you. They love talking to you about your goals. They love helping you find ways to create opportunities and to solve problems. That is someone who is going to be a wonderful mentor because this isn't a chore for them and it isn't a job. It's something that they're doing because they have found success and they want to give back and help other people. Again, leaders create leaders. They want to help other people get to the next level. And it's something that really brings them individual pleasure. So please, 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 when you speak to someone that you think that you would like them to mentor, make sure that is like a key component. Hey, talk to me about why
you enjoy this?
Yeah. Interview them as much as they're interviewing you. Do you enjoy this? Because it's going to be the world of a difference between, like Kaelyn mentioned, someone setting you up for success or pushing you to do something that they acknowledge or maybe had seen that you weren't ready for, and then you failing and then you never try again. So important.
Yeah, no, I can't. This is all so incredibly true. And it's really kind of highlighting that, mentorship is a two-way street, and it can really easily feel one way, right? It can very easily feel like, well, I'm just showing up and asking them to help me because I don't know anything. It's like, well, no, you don't know some of the things that you want them to hopefully be able to teach you or show you or teach you how to do better or whatever. But there's a lot of things that you know that they don't. And just because they're the ones giving you, information or whatever, doesn't mean that connections and new opportunities and stuff can't also come to them through you. So for me at least, I love this kind of secondary check of like, okay, is this something they actually enjoy? Because like I feel like enough of a burden when I'm going to somebody who I know wants to help me. So for me, like mentally, it would be a lot easier to do this with somebody who I know actually enjoys the process. So yeah, I think it is really important to know that the person that you're asking has the spoons to do it and the knowledge and all that, but actually like enjoys doing this. We do have a question in the chat. Carol says, from a person who's terrible at asking for help, how do you work with a mentor for the best effect? So what do you think, as of the people that have mentored you or that you are mentoring, do you think there's like a dynamic or like a formula that it works best?
Yep. And it's going to start with you. I had to learn so early on, get outside of myself, right? I cannot do everything on my own. Like Chris mentioned, teams, as a part of a team, everyone has a role and each role is significant to make sure that everyone achieves success. I have to be able to say, I need help. I need help. And then you have to be able to let somebody say, okay, without judgment, without, offense, these are some things that you could do better, right? Like you have to really get outside of yourself. Once and this is why, again, a mentor who actually enjoys mentorship is so important. They're going to be able to create a safe space for you to be that vulnerable, to be able to take that constructive criticism in a way that is not going to make you just feel like you want to give up, not deter you from your goal, but just help you find a mutual space where they can give and you can receive and vice versa, right? And then also take the feedback. Hey, you know what? I actually do not receive information this way. I don't respond to this type of to criticism or to leadership. And then, okay, great. What works for you, right? But so you have to find someone who can create that safe space, but then also get outside of yourself and let yourself be vulnerable enough to say, I need help. You're someone that I can identify who has these great attributes that I really truly believe can help me get to the next level. And I'm ready to take your feedback and ready to be actionable with the insight that you give me so that I can achieve success.
And something I would add to that is like when you're looking for a mentor to also, I am a self-identified golden retriever. I love pumping people up. I'm very excited. But to also find someone that's gonna challenge you, right? I read a book, Radical Candor, and it was how to provide feedback. And so I think everything that Dottie has said is in spot on. But on top of that, you need someone that's going to challenge you, someone that's gonna look at it and say, hey, like you did do a great job, but you actually could have done better, right? Like, could you have challenged this customer on a lower discount? Could you challenge this customer to have actually signed on this date versus letting it push? Could you have challenged someone else to have done something that would impact you in a greater way? I don't speaking sales, but from a mentor standpoint, having a hype man is awesome. And I think that they have a role and it is super important. However, I do believe that your mentor should also be someone that's challenging you and not just hyping you up, not just gassing you up, not just, really pumping you up, but is also someone that's going to challenge you to do something that you are capable of doing, but you just don't know that you are.
And hold you accountable.
Very
Yeah.
true. Yes.
That's a good point. And I feel like this is where people start talking about like having your own personal board of directors, because it's not just a mentor, right? And, don't get me wrong, I have people in my court that like hype me up as well, but it's mostly like my mom and my cousin, and like they're great, but also like they're not going to hold my feet to the fire because my mom thinks I'm perfect and my cousin's just like, nah, you'll be fine. It's cool. So I think it is really important to think about multiple aspects of what you need from your mentor, because there are plenty of us that need that encouragement. You need to be told like, no, you're doing fine. Let's go. Come on. You're ready. This is going to be great. And then there's just as many of us that are like, but I don't want to. So it really is important to think about what you're trying to get out of that mentorship relationship. Like, are you trying to get them to help you level up your career, or are you trying to get them to help you understand in a much deeper way the role you're in currently? What is your actual goal from this specific person? Okay, Kaelyn, I want to talk to you next. This person wrote in with a question saying, I'm a sales rep and I'm looking to pivot into the tech field. Do you have any advice to create those first connections? So you're already a part of sales, but you're moving into a new industry or a new field. What should people know? Like, what do you think is the first thing they should be doing to make connections within tech?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, first and foremost, if you're here, that's always a good first connection joining this webinar. You now have heard from the three of us at Insight Software and Tech Sales. But also, I mean, LinkedIn is a great tool, right? We use it in our own prospecting, as most people in tech sales would do it. Do it for your own self-advocacy and make your own connections on LinkedIn, people that you went to school with, your family, your friends. Look at people that they're connected to that may or may not be in tech sales and industry, and ask for the connection and ask to understand what is their job, what do they do, but also do some research. Google's a powerful engine, right? We talked about understand where you want to go and why you want to do that. So tech sales can be very broad. What do I actually want to do? What's exciting in the marketplace? Is it AI? Is it different kinds of technology that we're selling? You could go anywhere. So fully understand kind of a path that you want to go down and start making connections via LinkedIn, research, ask your family, friends, who do you know that's in the tech industry? Even if they're not in sales, they're likely know somebody in their sales department that can help you out. I've found it's amazing how many people are willing to jump in and help out. Actually, my neighbor came across the street about 6 months ago and said, hey, my friend's daughter is looking to move into tech sales. I know that's what you're in. Do you mind talking to her? I said, set it up. Give me 30 minutes. And I talked her through the different areas and the ways you can get into tech sales. So there's got to be somebody out there that friend, family, acquaintance, that knows somebody that's in tech or tech sales, even better, that would help you make that connection. You got to ask for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I can add to that, I'm so sorry, Megan.
Yeah, no, go for it, please. They come to hear you talk. Come on now.
And making those connections, don't be afraid, or don't not network side to side, right? Everyone always wants to network up. I want to talk to a boss. I want to talk to a manager, a VP, someone who can hire me. But the people who are on a production level are just as important to know, because they're going to be able to set correct expectations with you about what this actually entails, what your day-to-day is going to be like, and what are some things that you might want to really consider. So 100% neighbors, friends, pets, whoever. Speak to everybody, but also make sure that you understand that those connections side by side are just as valuable as the ones who are above you.
Yes. Because here's the thing, y'all. Your career does not exist in a snapshot, right? You're not making connections right now with people wherever they are, and that's all they're going to be. They're advancing their careers and they're moving along in their career just as much as you want to move along in yours. Time marches on. So it is really important to remember that you don't just need to be looking up, you need to be looking side to side, not only because it's better understanding of like a broader understanding of business, but also those people are going to keep moving up as well, or they're going to keep moving out and moving into different fields or whatever. And that is where your circle of influence continues to spread. So as you're making these connections, they're not just important to you. They could be important to somebody that you connect with 15 years down the line that you've never even thought of yet. So I love this advice. Absolutely love this. Okay, let's go to another question here. All right. Chris, I want to talk to you about these relationships. We talked about kind of building the life cycle of a sale and how you have to kind of like, really cultivate these relationships. What can you tell us about what you think it takes to build these meaningful relationships with customers?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. Very much up my alley. Again, golden retriever energy, that's me. So when I think about creating strong and meaningful relationships, the first thing that I think about is like, who is this person, right? Like I have to remind myself that they're a customer, sure, but like at the core, like they're a person too, right? And so then from there, I always like to try and get past the surface level, right? And try to understand who they are, what is it that they actually do, like what is their role, who do they answer to, what are they most focused on? And then from there, I try to kind of meet them where they are and take those pieces that I've actually learned, that I've actually understood, that they're saying without saying, and begin to kind of put those together and tailor whatever it is that I'm then doing from there. So obviously, like we are at work, right? Like there is a purpose, like not running a nonprofit here, even though I have been a part of them. So like there is a business function that is happening here, right? So how do I take those things that I've learned from either our first interaction through a few account reviews, or, hey, like, you said that you're dealing with this, like, let's do a little bit of a discovery, like all of those pieces to then begin to kind of cultivate, like, hey, this is the way that I feel. I'm going to need to actually speak to this person to actually get them to like, have I heard them? Do they feel heard? All of those things, and kind of begin to pull those together. And then from there, that's how I then would pitch, right? And so what I've learned from that is if I'm meeting them where they are, if I've tailored my approach to them to then be able to, if they're a champion, right? Like, how do I build a strong relationship with a champion so then they want to do things for me or for our company that they may not have done for just a transactional salesperson? Am I working with the economic buyer? Okay, like what exactly is the most important thing to them so that they can either get back to what it is that they're doing, or that we can help them, do that faster or to do that more efficiently. So try to understand all of those different pieces. And from there, then kind of begin to get to a point where I feel comfortable being able to kind of push and challenge based off of what I've learned. I'm a big fan of, are you treating them with respect? Are you treating them the way that they would want to be treated? Right. And then from there, I think, like, hey, what are the things that you can do that kind of go the extra mile? Like in my intro, I talk about the white glove service. I've worked for some programs where, we had the opportunity to do something a little extra, right? Like we had the opportunity to do something that is going to be memorable. A quote that comes to mind is people don't always remember what you said or what you did, but they remember the way that you made them feel. And I believe that even in sales, even in tech sales, even on the enterprise level, we have an opportunity to still treat people the way that they'd like to be treated. And so from there, like add them on LinkedIn, send them a gift, like their post. Like when you see a promotion, like just say congratulations, send them an email that, there's no sales perspective to there. It's just, hey, congrats. I saw that you moved from this level to this level. That's really exciting. Congratulations. My dad would always say, hey, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you need to listen. You need to listen twice as much as you speak. If anyone told him that I shared that quote, like, I'm going to deny it, but he was absolutely correct. But genuinely, how are we making people feel heard? How are we making them feel important? And if we're able to do those things, it kind of becomes natural that you're going to create a strong relationship, that you're going to that you're going to have a meaningful relationship. And then kind of going back to something I said earlier, where just like being consistent, do what you say you're going to do it at the timeline that you said you're going to do it. And by doing that consistently, you're going to be able to create your own brand. You're going to be able to create something that they know that they can count on.
Yeah.
That's how I like to build strong relationships.
I like it. Thank you so much, Chris, for those answers. I want to say a big thank you to Ciera and Kaelyn as well. Apologies, y'all. Being on the half hour as opposed to the hour completely messed up my timing. So I was not able to reserve our 3 minutes like I like to go over the slide. But I just want to say thank you so much to each of you from the Insight Software team. It's been really wonderful to get to learn from you, learn more about your own journeys. And we really, really appreciate the time that you've spent with us today. Thank you to each of you. Thank you so very much. A huge thank you to our audience members as well. Y'all, I love that you come to these events because obviously I don't have a job if you don't, but I love it even more because you're doing something for yourselves, okay? You're taking time out of your day to do something positive for yourself and your career. This is not an easy feat in this day and age, so please be proud of yourselves, whether you're the little cookie, gold star, whatever it is, y'all deserve the treat, okay? So thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this. I hope this brought value for all of you. If you've loved this, we hope that we'll see you on our next virtual event soon. And yeah, can't wait to see what else our Power to Fly partnership with Insight Software goes. So thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to check out Insight Software's company page on powertofly.com. We just shared the link in the chat there. You can check out their roles because they're currently hiring. And if you've got further information or further questions on any of this, you can always write to our email inbox. It's hi@powertofly.com. That's going to be it for today with Insight Software, but I hope that y'all will be back for another event soon in the future. Thanks so much, y'all. Have a great night. Bye.